Checklists are operational systems designed to standardize complex processes and eliminate guesswork. In high-stakes fields like aviation, medicine, and construction, checklists reduce failure rates by ensuring critical steps are neither forgotten nor skipped, regardless of fatigue, distraction, or expertise level. The result? Fewer errors, consistent quality, and reproducible outcomes. The workout journal is a specialized checklist applied to training. It serves the same function, standardizing your training process so that each session is executed with precision and each data point is captured for analysis. The result? Better workouts and better performance. Hey there, it's me, Core, and you're listening to Exercising Self-Control from Fitness to Flourishing. Here's why you should be using checklists in your life. They reduce cognitive load. They offload task sequencing from working memory, freeing mental energy for execution quality and problem solving. They minimize errors. They act as a safety net, preventing overlooked steps or missed details that compound over time. They ensure consistency. They standardize processes so repeated tasks are executed to the same standard every time, enabling reliable data collection. They eliminate decision fatigue. Pre-planned sequences reduce the number of micro-decisions required during execution, preserving mental resources. They enable verification. They allow for do, confirm checks. You can perform from memory, then verify against the checklist to pinpoint any deviations as a form of practice. They facilitate analysis. They create structured data that reveals patterns, tendencies, and correlations otherwise invisible to intuition or recollection alone. Plan, do, study, adapt, or PDSA, is the scientific method applied to iterative improvement, and, in this case specifically, with a workout journal. It's controlled experimentation. Make a plan, implement the plan, study the results, adapt, and begin again. This is a simplification of the PDSA method from W. Edwards Deming. Plan. You design your workouts in advance. Exercises, sets, reps, target weights, rest intervals. This is your hypothesis. If I perform these specific actions, I am doing what it takes to realize my goal. Depending on your experience, you could be planning an entire year or just the upcoming week. Then, do. You execute the plan exactly as written. The journal serves as your checklist, ensuring you follow the predetermined protocol without deviation or improvisation. Next, study. You record the actual results, weights, reps, sets, rest intervals, etc. You measure the gap between planned and actual. And finally, adapt. You review the data. Based on the results, you adjust the plan. This is done at various times. After the set, after the workout, after the week, after the completion of the full planned length of the phase you're training. Each time period has its own focus and adaptation goal. For example, after a set, you would gauge your rating of perceived exertion and adjust the resistance on the consequent sets if appropriate. This cycle repeats. Each iteration produces data. Each data point informs the next decision. This is how progress becomes predictable rather than accidental. Your journal must capture these following data points for PDSA to function best. Date and start and finish times. This establishes frequency and identifies peak performance windows and duration consistency. For example, morning versus evening performance. Exercises and their order. This ensures balanced muscle development and prevents unintended program drift. Sets, reps, and weight. The core metrics for measuring progress and verifying progressive overload. Rest intervals. This maintains consistent intensity and allows comparison across sessions. That is, you're comparing apples to apples, so to speak. And subjective notes. This records how each set felt. For example, rating of perceived exertion, form quality, energy level, to correlate with contributing factors like your sleep, nutrition levels, or work demands. Here are some common failures a workout journal helps to address. Failure 1, inconsistent effort. Without a checklist, effort varies session to session. You might lift 185 pounds for 4 sets of 10 reps one week, then in the same lift, 185 pounds for 2 sets of 10, and then 2 sets of 8 in the next. Not because you're weaker, but because you used a shorter rest interval by mistake. The journal prevents this. You see exactly what you did last week and execute the same protocol or a predetermined progression or regression. Failure 2, missed progressive overload. Progressive overload, for example, gradually increasing weight, reps, volume, or decreasing rest intervals, is the mechanism for adaptation and growth. Without recorded data, it's more difficult to verify that it's happening. The journal shows whether you're actually progressing or simply repeating the same effort indefinitely. This is the do-study function. You perform the workout, then verify against last week's data that you've increased load or volume, for example. Failure 3, undetected patterns. Your performance fluctuates. Some weeks you're strong, others not so much. Without data, you attribute this to randomness. With a journal, you correlate performance with sleep, nutrition, stress, and recovery. You discover that you perform better after 8 hours of sleep. You notice that high stress weeks produce lower numbers. This data allows you to adjust your lifestyle overall, not just training variables. Remember, it's an exercise practice, not just workouts. Failure 4, abandoned practice. Consistency requires structure. A page in your journal is a visual record of commitment. Skipping entries becomes harder to ignore. The checklist format, that is, date, exercises, sets, reps, creates a ritual. The ritual becomes a practice. The practice becomes automatic. And that's when you no longer have to spend mental bandwidth getting yourself to maintain your exercise practice. It becomes a natural part of your life. Your journal requires nothing more than a notebook and a pen. A clipboard works well in a gym environment. Take your plan out of the notebook, clip it to the board, and you're good to go. Write your start time. Record all the relevant data you're tracking. Add any notes on how it felt. Make note of when you finished. Compare this week to last week. Adjust next week's plan based on what the data shows. This is PDSA in its simplest form. Plan, do, study, adapt. The workout journal is a tool for focus. It transforms training from guesswork into controlled experimentation. Each session produces data. Each data point informs the next decision. Over time, this systematic approach leads to measurable, reproducible progress. That's it for today. Catch you next time.